Hey mental workers, you're listening to the Mental Work Podcast, the podcast about working in mental health for early career mental health workers. As always, I'm your host, Bron Milkins, and today we are talking about building a meaningful career across both therapy and organisational psychology. It can feel like you have to pick a single career lane once you leave uni, like just keep on doing clinical or keep on staying in private practice. In this episode, we're going to explore how you can blend your passions, walk in multiple professional worlds, and create a career path that truly reflects your strengths and values. Here to help us out today is our guest, Ethan Sullivan. Hi, Ethan.
Hi, Bron. How are you going?
I'm going really well. I'm really glad that you could join us today. Could you please start off by telling listeners who you are?
Yep. So my name's Ethan Sullivan. I'm a consultant, an organisational psychologist, talent management company. But really what I do is I specialise in psychometric assessment, usually for people who are recruited into high stakes roles. Other contexts usually around leadership development, coaching, mental health and wellbeing as well. I guess on the other side of that, I'm also a therapist in private practice. That's more where the mental health comes in. And on weekends, I'm Ethan. I'm a Dachshund lover, big heart, and my deepest core values are curiosity and love, and those are the things that drive me in both my personal and my work life. That's really, I'm not those two people. I'm all of those things at once, and I try to blend my work together with that to be as authentic as possible. And I think people can get a good part of their needs met very well through that. So I think people can get their needs met quite well when they are blending both their work and personal life together with their values.
That's a really lovely philosophy. I must admit the dog stood out to me.
Oh, yeah.
What's your dog's name? How old is the dog? Tell us about the dog.
I've got two dogs. So I've got one Dachshund Cosmo. He's a young fella, almost two. Lots of energy, really obedient, but very impulsive. So it's a funny combination. And very loving and sweet. And then I have Dippy, who's a rescue. She's about 5 years old. She's got, I would assume, a pretty decent trauma background. I think she was a breeder's dog, and that.
Oh, poor baby.
Yeah, she's a little bit tentative, but she loves going for walks. Like, that's her thing. She's like hiding under my table. She's at home or running in the park. So that's what we do.
So she's living her best dog life now.
Yeah, she's living the best dog life that she can, and yeah, it's awesome to see her become more of a dog the more she sort of settles into the house, which is nice.
Oh, that's lovely. We love dogs. I'm not sure if listeners love dogs. And when I say we, I mean me. But I'm just going to own it as a general thing on the podcast. So thanks for the intro. Can you please take us back to the beginning? So I would like to know what got you interested in psychology, I think, first of all. What led you to studying psych?
Yeah, the first thing that it was it's pretty typical pathway I think that most people would have. I really wanted to be a clinical psychologist. The reason I got there, I was sitting at home, I was like 15, 16, and I was watching this TV series called Wire in the Blood. It's about a guy who solves murders with psychology. He's a clinical psych. And that got me really interested. And I was like, okay, I could use that to really help people. It's fascinating, and you could actually help people. And putting those two things together got me really interested. So that's how I kind of got started. And then I also sort of met a few people along the way that I could see their profession and how they were not just sort of doing something that was like corporate, but actually bringing people into that. And that got me fascinated in that area as the world as well.
That's so cool. So what did your career journey look like? So did you do undergrad psych and then honours? Was it relatively like one after the other? What happened there?
Yeah, so I did undergrad psychology and then I did honours, and then I applied for one master's program of organisational psychology. I was like, I'm going to do a 4+2. I don't want to study. I'm done with it. But if I do, it would. And lo and behold, I got it. So yeah, that's where I went and did my master's of organisational psychology. And from there, obviously placements and things happened. And then I moved into the world of psychometrics.
Wow. So what led you to psychometrics? Like, was that your choice to go into it, or were you kind of led there?
I guess another story to tell is there was this cool guy that I heard about through my dad had come to his organization. My dad's like a really technical project manager. And this guy came in, had a really nice car, and he did this profiling of my dad and was able to tell him some really, really useful insights to help him develop his career. So it really helped him be a little bit more, be a bit more people focused, and maybe be a little bit less skeptical about things, as project managers tend to be. So that was something that was really cool, and that kind of got me interested in this area and of psychometric. So that profiling tool, and I ended up having a conversation with him at some point when I started my master's, and that sort of got me, really interested. And at that point, there was opportunities to sort of get accredited in different psychometric tools used in organizations. And so I was just picking all of them that I could do, like candy in a candy store. And that sort of kept building the curiosity. The first one I learned was called the Savile Wave, and it's just a really cool model. And that got me hooked.
I'm just interested in like your personality characteristics that make this interesting to you. Like, are you a detail-focused person or like quite analytical?
That's an interesting hypothesis. No, I'm very high openness. So I'm very curious. It's like my number one thing. I'm really interested in new ways of doing things, new approaches, and that's what gets me driven to like use these insights. And it's not so much about the data. It's about taking this piece of data and making sense of that in someone's context. And it's a really great discussion point and starting point for a conversation about things that people really care about in their work. And people might be more introverted in nature, for example, but in a leadership position. And you can kind of work with them and help them develop learned strategies around things like that might be a little bit more challenging being up in front of people all day, right? And that can be very meaningful to people because they spend so much time at work.
Yeah, totally. So would you say your role is interactive with people? Because maybe people do have a misconception that org psychs do sit in their little office and they analyze the data, but they don't actually interact with people.
Yeah, I think we do sit in the office a lot. The thing is, like, your day-to-day is probably going to look different to a therapist or psychologist in private practice, for sure, in terms of people focus. You won't do, for example, 6 coaching sessions a day. You might. That would be very, very intense, though, because there's a lot of considerations and things that go into that. But you might do 1 or 2, and then you might debrief a hiring panel on a psychometric assessment. You might go out and do some leadership development work in a organization, maybe a mining company, or it might be a government company that's trying to build leadership capability for a very specific population. And that is where you get to have all that variety that comes in. So there's this sort of like group level stuff. There's the one-to-one stuff that's going out and doing things out in the world. And there is also that time spent in the office, which I cherish and love while I listen to rock to emo music.
Sounds great. So it sounds like there's a lot of variety in your role.
Yeah, massive variety person. That's a big theme of my career. I've done a lot of different things. So I think I've kind of learned about myself that having variety is a pretty big need for me in my work. And being intellectually stimulated is really important, but also having like a care and concern and focus for people in my work. So org psych gives me the best of all of those worlds, but I also have this sort of other part of me that really wants to work one-to-one deeper with people. I don't always get to do that in org psych. I'm getting to do more of it. But yeah, that's where therapies come in and been really important for me too.
Yeah. And the reason why I ask as well is because I've just noticed a general trend, maybe anecdotal, that I think a lot of clinically focused psychs are wanting more variety in their work. And so they're like, how can I get into these org psych works or these alternative roles, maybe in combination with clinical work? And so I was just wondering, like, how did you get your job? Was it like seek or like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think so. There's a lot of connections that you do make through the university from organizational psychology. Yeah. So there's that, and I hadn't think about like it's the other way around, where it's people that want to get more into that work. We'll talk about transferable skills, I'm sure, but I think it's really just about getting the different skill set. Like the way I got back into the therapy world is I already kind of had a bit of a skill set, but I built more of it. And then I could come in. If you think about what is the career trajectory generally of a clinical psychologist or someone who is in a mental health role, generally you might sort of upgrade to a more senior role, management, and then you start looking at business management. So it actually becomes a leadership business role. So I think as you start to build those skills, move through kind of the ranks, if you do private practice, you're also probably managing your own business at that point or working deeply with someone else's. Those skills and things can help you to understand things a little bit more deeply from an organizational level. It's just kind of about expanding the thinking, I think, as well.
No, that's really helpful. So I wanted to ask you about the therapy because my understanding of the Org Psych Masters is that it doesn't typically involve much therapy. Is that right?
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
I think I remember having some element of like, what would you do in these situations and in coaching and the sort of boundaries there. That being said, though, there's a lot of EAP organizations, right? So they're organizations that support organizations with mental health, all their well-being, so directly or indirectly. You talk about training design and resilience, and there's people that do share things and how do you support them, and what those boundaries are. They can get very blurry at times. They definitely can, but it's kind of just coming back to the company, the organization, as well as his person. So there's kind of another thing in the room that stops you going full mental health discussions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And maybe this comes back to transferable skills because, like you said, you're very curious, you're very open to learning. When you approach therapy, for many people, that can be quite overwhelming. Was it overwhelming for you, or did you feel like you had some transferable skills to provide a foundation?
Yeah, I should probably preface, before I became an organisational psychologist, like I was following that journey, clinical psych, undergrad, loved this, started volunteering at a crisis helpline. I'm sure you can all figure that out. And then I also started doing some youth work, disability work, and so those sort of things, that's kind of partly how I knew, okay, I'm not going to be a clinical psychologist. I can get pretty drained by this work. So I need to find something that's sustainable, but also people focused, and that's how I ended up with org psych. So I think that's kind of how I ended up moving that way. And those transferable skills were kind of a lot of it already existed. So I learned active listening very early on. It was something I've used for a long time. And I had done some counselling and things like vocational rehabilitation, where you're working with people returning to work. So you get a bit of a taste there. But yeah, I had done some counselling in the past because of that experience, and that helped me a lot too.
Yeah, and the helpline training, like I haven't done it myself, but from people I've spoken to, it's excellent.
It's very intense and very in-depth. I don't think any uni degree gave me that level of like actual practical skill application. So totally. I completely endorse how they teach active listening and those basic counselling skills. It's phenomenal.
So you moved into the psychometric world, and then you were like, I'm going to do some therapy as well?
Yeah, so I've been in the psychometric world for a while. I sort of started off in this little report writing role for about 6 months, and then moved into something a bit more, I guess, sort of strategic would be the way you'd look at it. So I was kind of a step back from the psychometrics, and I was teaching teams to use them, hiring teams. And I was very much in this recruitment space, so people using personality, emotional intelligence, cognitive ability assessments to help sort of inform things like graduate programs or, again, sort of for those higher stakes roles. And I was feeling like a bit of a disconnect from that people side of things. So I did some work in the development space where I was using some of those things, and again, found myself project managing. I was a bit removed. And then I wanted to move and do therapy. Essentially, I needed to get that need met. I'd always wanted to do it. I felt like that skill set was starting to slip. So I just went and started researching and reading what I needed to know, what I needed to do to, I guess, be a psychologist in the room, not just doing the regular counselling, but getting a conceptualization together, having a model to work from and be skillful with, and obviously getting the right supervision. So that's how I found myself moving back into that world. I found that I needed to get a need met. And then I moved into full-time work, which almost full-time work. It was pretty draining. And so I did come back to the org psych world, and I still do therapy on the side just to find that right balance.
It doesn't sound like you had any internal resistance to this combining of the two worlds. I'm just wondering if you encountered any external resistance, people being like, that's a bit weird to combine these two interests, I guess.
The resistance was all internal, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 100%
Okay,
internal. So the way this went, like I thought, okay, I need to know these things. I need to be like this person. I need to know all the diagnoses. And then I sort of approached other people, and they're like, yeah, get on board. Like, let's go.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. And that because of the counselling background, because I had those skills, I think they knew with the supervision, the support, and with the passion, I was explaining all the things I was reading and doing and learning so I could do the job effectively. They're like, this guy's got this. So I think it was kind of just that attitude that kind of they saw. But for me, I was like, I've got this attitude because I'm doing all this stuff because I feel some of this nervousness and should I really be doing this? And it's a career change and all those things that were going on. But yeah, people were super supportive, and supervision was like, yeah, it's phenomenal. Getting that support really helped as well. So yeah, I felt more comfortable once I got into the room. I started doing what I used to do and listening, and just started, okay, I've got a template here. I can work with that. There's good resources. I can, if issues come up I'm not as familiar with, like sleep or grief, I've got things there I can start to use. And then talk about that in supervision. So once I kind of got into that flow, I think I started feeling a lot more comfortable.
So you mentioned there was lots of support from other people. I do think that a lot of early career psychs, they do feel really nervous, and they have a lot of internal resistance to undertaking like different career paths. I'm just wondering like what supports maybe from supervisors or mentors that you had for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I suppose I didn't really know anyone that had taken a journey that I'd
Okay.
taken. I think I'd met a couple of org psychs along the way that had done it, but it was usually the other way around. They'd usually been in clinical psych, then they wanted to do more organizational psychology work. Often they start with like doing well-being things in workplaces and organizations or groups, and then that sort of translates into company work. But I think, when I sort of stepped back, it was more I guess that interest that put me in those shoes and led me to feel more comfortable. I think Pessy was awesome. Like if you've ever heard that training platform,
Yeah.
if you're a listener and you haven't, I highly recommend, just for getting a
Yeah,
really
it's very comprehensive.
comprehensive. There's really good deals and things on certain learnings, and all the foundational stuff. They've got great content from some of the best trainers in the world. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That's what you
Yeah.
want. Sorry, I'm not endorsed by Desi. Pessy,
Neither.
I just rate
No,
them.
but it is really good. I've heard just to prove we're not endorsed, I've heard their mailing lists are a real pain in the ass to get off. Yeah. So there you go. Okay, so it was like your own passion for learning, following that, having internal conflicts, but being able to resolve that. And then when you did put yourself out there, you were met with so much support.
Lots of support, and way more than I thought would be. Like, I'm telling them, I've never done case conceptualization before. I'll need to know that.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we'll teach you that. And that was it. You just be really honest and forthright about who you are, what your needs are, and people. I think psychologists are so valuable at the moment. People will look at potential, and they will, if you're willing and you have a strong attitude, they'll invest in growing you for sure.
That's really good for folks to hear. What do you find are the transferable skills across therapy and org psych work?
It's all transferable. So if I put it into like terms, active listening, number one, just hearing what this client's saying. Usually they're a representative of the organization. It might be the HR leader, for example, and they're dealing with issues day to day. And you have to deal with what kind of coming to you with and really try to understand their world. You have to sort of look a bit deeper and think about, okay, that's their world and what does that mean? And maybe even do some research on the side to understand that context. So it's really about just getting to know them. It just looks a bit different. So if you just stay curious and you listen and you're actually interested, that will help you to really actively listen and understand them. And then there's assessment. And so you will assess what they're telling you. You might ask really pointed questions to understand, is it this or is it actually this, to really get the data. And then you can make an evidence-based intervention or formulation, essentially a diagnosis, and then what you do about it, and an evaluation as well. So all of those skills, the interpersonal, the assessment-focused skills, the analytical skills, and the ethics, the evidence-based decision-making, all of that comes into play in the organizational world, all of it. And it's just as much as you would day-to-day in the therapy room. It just looks different. That's all.
No, that's really good to hear, and I think reassuring to people who do want a bite of both worlds. You've kind of carved out a career for yourself, and I think you're a good example of what's possible for your career. It's like you've got these interests, you've set yourself up with the training, with the support, and you've gone out and you've, I guess, put yourself out there. What do you think might be some misconceptions that early career psychs might hold about what's possible for their career?
Yeah, I think people might think, I need to be this thing. And I feel like most psychs I've talked to have thought, at some stage, and almost all psychs I've talked to, I'm going to be a clinical psych. The only other thing I hear is more like a researcher, kind of research psychologist. Very few people tell me, I always wanted to be a forensic psychologist, unless I watched a lot of criminal shows. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
did.
always the crime. It's always the crime folk.
I don't know how I didn't end up there, but
Yeah,
somehow I figured it out. Maybe it's a late career move for me, Bron.
maybe that's the next one.
Yeah, but I think it's just not being, you don't need to be this thing. You don't need to have this niche. Like, you can be a generalist. You can have lots of skills. You can have a specialty in or endorsement in a particular area, and you can still stay pretty high level. Like, org psych is so broad. I think that's a misconception as well. It's hard to think about what I thought about org psych, but it's corporate, it's kind of boring, it's HR. There is so much out there that you can do. It's probably one of the broadest, most diverse groups I've ever met from a professional level. So there's that sort of misconception as well. But I think for early career psychs, like, you can do so many other things. Like, you can become a clinical leader. You can open a business. You can become a clinical director. And you can start to collaborate with other organizations and build, I know psychologists that have like programs that run worldwide. There's so much that you can do. And you can also do some training, get your head around what you need to do and try something completely different. There's a lot of transferable skills that you have. So you might think you get pigeonholed by therapy or assessment or whatever it is, but all of it is going to come around and help you have a very diverse career whenever you want it.
Wow, that's such an awesome promotion for org psych. As you were talking, I was trying to think back about what my conception and image of org psych was. And I recognized that it was definitely HR and it was definitely like recruitment and selection. And then I had this other image in my head of like a HR org psych being like, no, you can't have compassionate leave. And then that was my negative view.
Oh, that's
Not
nice.
a personal experience, just a negative, unfounded image.
It's just that image, just that projection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from what you've explained, it is not that. It is not that at all. So it sounds a really exciting field.
Yeah. And like anything, you can end up in positions that aren't right for you based on your values. You can definitely do that. I think with vocational rehab, I think there's a lot of insurance involvement. It wasn't for me. I figured out very quick that wasn't for me. There's just too many different motivations. So I need to step back and find things that I really connected with, that I liked, that I loved, where ethics weren't going to be compromised. So that to me was really important. And it's maybe more morals. I think in that world, like ethically, sure, everything was fine, but for me, it wasn't. So you kind of have to know yourself as well. If you have a good understanding of your values and your preferences at work, I can help with that if you have a question about that. But
Yes.
yeah,
Well, I
those can be
wanted to
very
ask you,
helpful.
because it does sound like a lot of your decisions are based on knowing yourself and are based on your values and what's important to you. Could you just speak about how that does guide your career choices?
Yeah, I think so. If I come back to sort of those core values, curiosity, always going to need a role that's got a lot of stimulation, where I'm doing something new and different. I think the way that sort of shapes my work right now, I'm still learning. Even as far along in my career as I am, I'm still learning so much. I like to be around people that make me smarter. I'm really average intelligence, but the people I'm around are so smart. I know some of the smartest people I think I've ever met in my job, and that makes me better, makes me smarter. And that helps me get more competent in my work, and it helps me to ask more questions of my clients, to understand and look beyond symptoms, right, to get to causes. And I think with, the core value, again, of love, and that's really about strong, trusting relationships. I've always been someone who felt comfortable in a room one-to-one with someone, and that's where that tension was of like big recruitment, organizational work. So I think that's how it shapes my work now, is I get to have both worlds, and I get to use those best parts of me in them. I think when it was earlier, probably not as much. I always enjoyed like learning new things and looking out for people, and that sort of just led me here.
Paul, I'm wondering about challenges. Is there any drawbacks or difficulties that you've had during org psych work or even therapy work that I guess you want to instill or impart some guidance or advice to our early career listeners about?
Oh, great question. In the org psych world, that's a really small world. It's good to have great work and to be focusing on that early. That's so important. It's probably important in therapy in different ways too. I think for early career psych, like if you find yourself in an organization that's not so values aligned to you, like knowing people that you can talk to about that, maybe I'm going to help, and something about it, it's like you can help them too. If you're at somewhere that's really cool and someone that you really like and think's a great therapist is struggling, it's like, come over here. have a network. That's really, really important. But I think that's underrated overall as an early career psych.
So do you have supervision or mentors now? I know you said like maybe in the past you didn't, but has that changed?
Yeah, I definitely do. It's kind of taken a bit of time, but yeah, one of my supervisors from university, I just sort of kept in touch with. That helped a lot. Yeah, so she's been really, really great. Someone that I can't quite connect to more on a personal level as well. So that always helps. And sort of mentors more on a personal level in general. As you know, Chris, shout out to Chris Lowell. I generally have that sort of relationship with people and I can kind of go back to and consult with them. I think it's just meeting people that you feel you gel with. It's not always about someone who has like all the best knowledge, but someone who can step back and ask you questions and knows, and maybe people that do know a little bit more than you can be helpful, or different things than you do. I think that space to reflect is the most important part there.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And I think sometimes supervision with somebody who doesn't know you on a personal level, sometimes it can feel a bit performative. It's like, oh, I have to demonstrate this, or it's kind of like you're not really addressing the core things or the feelings that you're having about yourself or your work that might be getting in the way. And if you had somebody help you with that, things would be better.
That sounds like it came from personal experience, Bron. Is that something that happened to you?
I don't think it was. Actually, no, it is. I'm just thinking of my great supervisor who I have a lot of trust and respect for. And it's not necessarily, is it that he knows me on a personal level? But it's that I can talk about my thoughts and feelings to him. And I know that he's not going to judge me and he's going to be helpful. I do feel like having supervisors that you can share your thoughts and feelings with honestly has been a great way to progress my therapy work and my career for me.
Yes. I can totally see that, actually. That brings me back to another thing like that was a challenge was burnout. Like I've definitely hit that. Okay. So they always do, right? Like full-time therapy is probably not for me. Like I need to be doing something that's probably more positive psych to feel like more comfortable. I don't know. I don't take things on. I don't overthink too much, but I have a level of drain. I think sort of moderately extroverted, come talking all day gets you. But yeah, so I think that really helped a lot was having, I guess, a more personal connection. Because I can't imagine talking to a supervisor who I don't know that well about something so deeply personal that does affect both your personal and work life. It absolutely does. And that was a real challenge, but it really helped with managing it.
Good to hear. And it runs to a theme that we've had going throughout the podcast, which is the importance of finding good people and, like you say, good supports. And they're just so invaluable and indispensable.
And go therapy yourself. Definitely do that.
Yeah. Therapy is good.
Like your supervisor shouldn't just be giving you therapy. Like they should not be doing that. They should be supporting you with and guiding it back to the work. Yeah.
A good reminder and something that I'm sure supervisors listening to this podcast are grateful to hear you say.
Go to therapy and get a supervisor.
Yeah.
In both realms.
Absolutely. Ethan, is there anything that I haven't asked you about your career journey that you would like to share with listeners?
One of the things that I think stands out for early career people is just thinking more broadly, being comfortable in early career sites, early career people in mental health. I think when you look more broadly, when you think not just about this one thing, it takes a lot of the pressure off if you can be flexible and comfortable. Also in a pretty advancing world at the moment, there is a lot of change going on and there's going to be so much more. The human element is going to be so important as we go through that. I think supporting people in all realms, whether that's at work or in personal lives, there's going to be massive changes. And I think being someone who is perfectly imperfect human is always going to be relevant. So I think you're in a pretty good position.
I completely agree. And it reminds me of all the AI talk that's been coming and how AI is going to take our jobs and stuff. And I do think what remains is that we build relationships with people, real human relationships, therapeutic relationships. And that is incredibly important.
If AI made the Mona Lisa, no one would care about it.
Yes.
It's got to be this, and Vincent Van Gogh, right? Like there's so much pain in that. And I think that's something that knowledge is so powerful, it's so useful. I think that will be so helpful for our therapeutic practice and for whatever area of psych you have. I think all the technology we have is only going to make us better, but it's that sort of imperfection, authentic connection, that's always going to be it.
Love it. What does the future look like for you, Ethan? Like, where are you going with your career?
I would say that long term, I'm probably going to do 10 years good consulting work ahead of me and think full-time, I want to work overseas.
Cool.
The organisation I'm working on is global, so that's something I'm sort of pursuing. I think long-term, it will be about sort of coming back and contracting and having my own business. That's where I really want to end up, really want to be. I don't have a very clear process in place at the moment because I am around so many smart people that make me better that I'm just going to keep getting better until I'm like, I'm teaching other people now for a long time. Maybe it's time for me to go do this thing.
Wow, sounds amazing. Well, I hope you get there and maybe we can speak to you again from overseas somewhere.
Yeah, Netherlands or something. That's
cool. Ethan, we've had a great conversation today. What do you hope that listeners will take away from it?
Just that you're valuable, like so valuable in this world right now. Like you look at Psych, you look at LinkedIn, you look at the jobs. Psychologist, please come help, come work with us. We need you, and we genuinely need good people that can help people. And that's not going to stop anytime soon. So your skills and your knowledge are so valuable, and they're also so valuable in contexts outside of whatever world that you exist in, whether that's therapy, forensic, org psych. There's so much more you can do. I think one thing I'd like any listeners that are org psych that are curious to take away, I'm always happy to have a conversation and support that as well.
That's so awesome and so generous. Thank you. If listeners do want to get in touch, how can they find you?
Your best opportunity is LinkedIn. If you look up Ethan Solomon, E201, SOLOMON, you see like a photo that kind of looks like Barney Stinson when he went into the corporate world. From How I Met Your Mother, that's me. So you're welcome to connect with me there and send me a message. I'd say that's the best way to do it.
Lovely. I'll make sure that link is in the show notes as well so that everybody can see the picture and connect.
Cool. My one corporate photo.
Yeah, we've all got one. And Ethan, thank you so much again. It's been really valuable to speak with you, and I think listeners will have learned a lot from hearing from you.
Back at you, Bron. Thanks for doing what you do.
No worries. Well, listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you did, please make sure to share it with somebody else. The easiest way to do that is to put it in somebody else's ear or share the link with them. You've been listening to Mental Work. I'm Bron Milkins. Have a good one and catch you next time. Bye.